A poor woman saves a dying stranger in the woods. Unaware, she has rescued the ruthless Alpha King's mother, now bound by an ancient blood debt that will either unite two worlds or destroy them both.
Welcome to Luna's Romance Stories. Read the entire novel in one go. Message or comment to tell me what kind of story you'd like to read. Subscribe to the channel for daily updates. Luna reminds you, the story begins now.
The blade was already at the old woman's throat when Emma burst through the trees. She'd been foraging for medicinal herbs in Ironwood Forest, the dangerous stretch of woodland that separated human villages from werewolf territory. When she heard the scream, pure, primal terror that made her blood freeze. 3 armed men surrounded their victim, a silver tan-haired woman in torn silk, fighting despite her years. Highway thieves who preyed on foolish travelers who dared venture through supernatural lands without protection. Run, Emma's survival instincts screamed. You're just a village healer's apprentice. No training, no weapons, no chance. But when one thief backhanded the woman, sending her crashing into the mud, something fiercer than fear ignited in Emma's chest. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. When you witness suffering, child, you act. That is what separates us from beasts. Without thinking, Emma grabbed the heaviest stone within reach and charged down the hillside. The first bandit never saw death coming. Her projectile cracked against his skull, dropping him instantly. The second whirled with his blade drawn, but Emma moved on pure instinct, her herb knife finding the gap between his ribs before he could strike. "Run!" she shouted to the fallen woman. But what happened next defied all logic. The remaining bandits looked at their intended victim and went pale as winter moonlight. Instead of finishing what they'd started, they grabbed their wounded companion and fled into the forest as if demons pursued them. "My dear child," the old woman said, rising with surprising grace despite the attack. "You cannot imagine what you've just done." Emma studied her rescuee more carefully now, noting the quality of fabric that cost more than Emma's entire village produced in a year. The jewels at her throat that could feed families for months. "Are you injured, my lady? Nothing time won't heal." The woman's eyes were sharp as winter steel. "But you risked everything for a stranger." "Why?" "Because it was right." The answer came without hesitation, simple and absolute. The woman's smile held something predatory behind the gratitude. "I am Lady Helena Blackthorn, and you, brave child, have bound yourself to a destiny that will reshape your existence forever." Before Emma could question her meaning, hoofbeats thundered through the forest. A column of mounted warriors in black and silver emerged, their commander a figure whose mere presence seemed to darken the surrounding air. Lord Damien Blackthorn dismounted with fluid, dangerous grace, amber eyes blazing as he took in the scene. His mother's torn clothing, blood on Emma's blade, obvious signs of violence. "Mother." His voice carried undertones that made Emma's skin prickle with unease. "Explain." "This courageous girl rescued me from bandits." Lady Helena's smile held secrets Emma couldn't decipher. "I believe ancient laws apply, do they not?" Damien's gaze fixed on Emma with predatory intensity. He was beautiful the way storms were beautiful. Dangerous, overwhelming, capable of destruction. When he smiled, she glimpsed canine teeth too sharp for human mouths. Indeed they do. His words fell soft as snow, deadly as poison. "By ancient law, a life debt binds us. You will accompany us to Blackthorn Castle. Girl, your existence belongs to our house now." Emma felt reality shift beneath her feet. She'd rescued an elderly woman from thieves and somehow became property of werewolf nobility. "I have family in the village," Emma protested weakly. "They'll worry. They'll be informed you've entered noble service," Damien replied with casual authority. A tremendous honor for a peasant. As his men lifted her onto a spare horse, Emma caught Lady Helena watching with calculating eyes. The old woman mouthed a single word that chilled her blood. Perfect. The journey to Blackthorn Castle passed in a blur of darkening forest. When they emerged from the tree line, Emma gasped. A fortress of black stone grew from the mountainside itself, towers clawing at the sky like hungry talons. "Welcome to your new home," Damien said, dark amusement threading his voice. "Try not to disappoint us." As they rode through gates resembling iron teeth, Emma realized one act of kindness had trapped her forever in a world of supernatural politics, ancient debts, and dangerous secrets. The question remained, had she saved a life or doomed herself to something far worse than death? Behind them, the forest whispered with sounds definitely not human. Ahead lay a castle harboring truths that would test everything she believed about courage, loyalty, and the thin line between love and survival. Blackthorn Castle was designed to remind you that monsters lived here. Emma sensed eyes tracking her from every shadow, as servants guided her through corridors lit by torches that cast dancing shapes on ancient stone. The air hummed with tension she couldn't identify, and repeatedly she glimpsed movements too swift, sounds not quite human. "This shall be your chamber," announced Margaret, the head servant, opening a heavy wooden door. "Lady Helena requested you be housed in the east wing." The room dwarfed Emma's entire family cottage. A bed large enough for 4 people. Tapestries worth more than her village produced annually. Windows overlooking forests that stretch toward distant peaks. "It is too grand," Emma protested. "Surely servants don't." "You're not precisely a servant," Margaret interrupted, her weathered face creasing with something like sympathy. "The life debt makes you complicated. Neither servant nor guest, but something between." "What does that mean exactly?" Margaret glanced toward the door, then stepped closer. "It means you belong to House Blackthorn now, body and soul. The debt can only be paid through service, or..." She paused. "Well, let's hope service proves sufficient." Before Emma could ask about alternatives, knocking echoed from the doorway. A young man in Blackthorn livery bowed respectfully. "Lady Helena requests your presence in the solar, immediately." The solar proved to be a sun-den-filled chamber where Lady Helena sat reading from an ancient tome. She'd changed from torn traveling clothes into midnight blue silk that made her silver hair shine like moonlight. "Sit, child," Lady Helena commanded without looking up. "We have much to discuss." Emma perched on a chair probably worth more than her father earned in 5 years. "My lady, I need to send word to my family." "Already handled. They've been told you're serving in a noble household and will send coins home regularly." Lady Helena finally looked up, pale eyes holding unfathomable depths. "You're worried they'll think poorly of you." "I didn't abandon anyone. I simply helped when bandits attacked." "Yes, very heroic." Lady Helena closed the book with a sound like thunder. "Tell me, Emma of Ashford, what do you know of werewolf law?" The direct question made Emma's mouth go dry. "I know the stories. Ancient bloodlines, territorial disputes, the law of fang and claw. Stories often understate reality." Lady Helena rose and moved to the window. "By saving my life, you've created a blood debt binding you to this house until it is repaid." "How is such a debt repaid?" "Service, loyalty, sacrifice if necessary." The older woman's smile held edges sharp enough to cut. "Or marriage into the bloodline, which transfers the debt to your children." Emma felt ice spreading through her veins. Marriage. Damien needs a mate. Strong bloodlines require careful cultivation, and you've proven yourself remarkable. Lady Helena turned from the window, pale eyes gleaming. "A peasant girl who risks her life for strangers shows character our house requires." "I won't be sold like livestock," Emma said, rising with dignity her grandmother had instilled. "Sold? Oh, my dear child, you misunderstand." Lady Helena's laugh raised hair on Emma's arms. "You won't be sold. You'll be courted, wooed, given every luxury wealth provides. But make no mistake, the debt binds you here until it is paid." Before Emma could respond, the solar door burst open. Damien strode in with predatory grace, amber eyes blazing with fury that made the air shimmer. "Mother," he said through gritted teeth, "what game are you playing?" "No game, darling. Merely ensuring our house's future." Lady Helena seemed utterly untroubled. "Miss Emma has proven herself worthy of consideration." "Worthy?" Damien's gaze fixed on Emma with laser intensity. "She is a peasant girl who got lucky with a rock. What makes you think she could survive in our world?" The dismissal stung worse than physical blows. Emma lifted her chin with pride having nothing to do with noble birth. "Perhaps because I've already survived in your world long enough to save your mother's life." Damien stepped closer, close enough that she could smell leather and steel, and something wild that made her pulse quicken. "One rescue doesn't prove strength, little peasant. Our world devours soft hearts alive. Then it is fortunate mine isn't soft." For a moment, something flickered in Damien's eyes. Surprise, perhaps even interest. Then the predatory mask slammed back. "We'll see," he said quietly. "Mother, assign her to kitchen duty. Let's discover how long her noble spirit lasts when faced with real work." "Damien," Lady Helena began. "Kitchen duty," Damien repeated, his voice brooking no argument. "If she is truly worthy of our house, she'll prove it through service, not pretty words." He departed as abruptly as he'd arrived, leaving Emma alone with Lady Helena and the echo of a challenge she couldn't ignore. "Don't take it personally," Lady Helena said with amusement. "Damien has trust issues. Too many assassination attempts will do that to a man." "Assassination attempts?" "Oh yes. Being the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories makes one a target." The older woman's smile turned predatory. "But that is why you're here, isn't it? To prove that some people can be trusted, even in a world built on betrayal." As servants led Emma toward the kitchens where her new life would begin, she found herself thinking about Damien's amber eyes and the challenge they'd held. He expected her to break, to prove that peasant courage was just another name for foolish ignorance. He was about to discover how wrong he could be. The kitchen in Blackthorn Castle was less a place for cooking food and more a massive alchemical workshop. There was none of the warm wheat, aroma, or crackling fire sounds from my hometown kitchen. Instead, it was filled with hissing steam, clanging metal, and a scent of raw meat. I thought I'd be assigned to scrubbing mountains of dishes or peeling endless potatoes. But Damien's test was clearly more wolfish than I'd imagined. The kitchen overseer was a burly werewolf named Graham. One of his ears had been torn in some battle, and the crisscrossing scars on his face made him look more terrifying than the castle's gargoyles. He eyed me up and down like prey, then announced my task in a gruff voice. "Human, smell this." He pointed to a huge wooden basin filled with large chunks of bloody raw meat. A thick metallic stench hit me, and I fought back the churning in my stomach, replying calmly, "It is venison, mixed with wild boar scent." A flicker of surprise crossed Graham's eyes. I'd grown up identifying herbs in the forest with my grandmother, so my sense of smell was sharper than most. "And this?" He gestured to a row of hanging herbs. I recognized them almost immediately: dragon's breath grass, wolfsbane flower, and moonlight moss. The first two are highly toxic, while moonlight moss neutralizes their poison and amplifies the effects. The flesh on Graham's face twitched, as if he were smiling, but it looked more like he wanted to bite. "Not bad. You've got some skill. Listen up. The Alpha's food isn't for humans. Their bodies can handle unimaginable energy and toxins. Your job is to use your herb knowledge to prepare the Lord's meals. Remember, if the Lord isn't satisfied or has any issues," he bared his gleaming white teeth, "then I'll have something for my dinner." The blatant threat ignited my competitive spirit. Damien thought kitchen labor would break my will. He was wrong. This was my battlefield. In the following days, I immersed myself in a sea of herbs and ingredients. The werewolves' diet was wild and direct. They needed massive energy to sustain their immense strength. I began experimenting with mild herbs to balance the raw meat's fiery essence, and soothing plants to temper their volatile moods. At first, the other werewolves in the kitchen were hostile, deliberately spilling my potions or roughly shoving me while I handled ingredients. I never complained, just quietly cleaned up and responded with even more perfect results. Gradually, their looks shifted from contempt to curiosity, even a hint of awe. They discovered that the food I prepared not only boosted their energy but also eased their frenzy on full moon nights. One evening, as I prepared a roasted lamb leg soaked in calming flowers for Damien's dinner, Margaret, the housekeeper, suddenly entered. "Miss Emma, the Lord summons you to his study." My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't seen him since that unpleasant encounter in the solar. Damien's study was as oppressive as he was. Huge floor, dan-to-dan ceiling windows overlooked the darkening night and howling mountain winds. He wasn't at his desk, but standing by the window, his back to me, his silhouette like a panther ready to pounce. "Is it you?" His voice was low, emotionless. "What?" I asked, confused. He turned, holding a silver goblet, his amber eyes flickering with dangerous light in the candle glow. "My dinner wine. What did you add?" "Powder from 3 dan leaf clover roots, my lord," I replied calmly. "It relieves mental fatigue from handling too many affairs. Beneficial and harmless to your body." He stepped forward, his overwhelming presence enveloping me. "How does a human understand werewolf physiology?" "I don't understand werewolves, but I understand herbs." I lifted my head, meeting his eyes. "Just as I don't understand nobility, but I understand saving lives. That is my principle, whether in the forest or the kitchen." My frankness seemed to surprise him. He stared at me silently, his piercing eyes as if trying to penetrate my soul. After a long moment, he drained the goblet. "Your principles have spared your life for now." He set down the cup, his voice carrying a faint huskiness. "But don't think that is enough. Blackthorn Castle's enemies won't spare you just because you can mix a few calming drinks." "I don't expect them to." I stood my ground. "I only hope that when I face them, I'm not alone." Damien's lips curled in a mocking arc. "Are you seeking my protection, little one?" "No." I shook my head, enunciating each word. "I'm reminding you, my lord. Your mother brought me here hoping I'd be an asset to you, not a burden. A toy hiding in the kitchen doesn't deserve the weight of a blood debt." The air froze in that instant. I could hear my pounding heart and see the storm gathering in his eyes. I didn't know if my bold words would provoke thunderous rage or something else. He stared at me intently, and just as I thought he'd tear me apart, he laughed. A wild, domineering laugh tinged with amusement. "Interesting," he murmured as if appraising an intriguing prey. "Then let me see if this little lamb sneaking into the wolf pack has grown fangs." He turned to his desk, picking up a document. "Tomorrow, the Silver Moon Clan's envoy arrives. You'll listen from the side. If you hear something you shouldn't, or say something you shouldn't." He didn't finish, but his threatening gaze said it all. I bowed and silently left the study. The moment the door closed, I leaned against the cold wall, realizing my back was soaked in cold sweat. I didn't know if my actions were brave or reckless, but I knew I was tired of passively awaiting fate's judgment. Damien had given me a chance to step out of the kitchen and truly enter this vortex of power, and I had to seize it. I'd never imagined that diplomatic negotiations between werewolves would take place at a long table, laden with roasted meats and strong liquor. The next day, I changed into a deep green gown prepared by Margaret. Simple but appropriate. I was seated in an inconspicuous spot behind Damien, like a scribe or an ornament. The Silver Moon Clan's envoy, a young alpha named Lucas, carried an aura completely different from Damien's. If Damien was a lone wolf in the deep forest, Lucas was the pack leader on sunlit plains. His smile was bright, but his eyes were equally sharp. "Damien, my brother." Lucas raised his goblet, his voice booming. "I heard you brought back an interesting little pet from a human village. I thought Blackthorn Castle had higher tastes." His gaze landed on me frivolously, filled with undisguised provocation. The surrounding Blackthorn werewolves let out low growls, the atmosphere instantly tense. Damien remained expressionless, leisurely cutting his roasted meat without looking up. "Emma is not a pet. She is the blood debt holder of the Blackthorn family. Lucas, mind your eyes, or I won't mind helping you remove them." His voice was soft but carried bone and chilling cold. Lucas's smile froze for a second. Then he burst into laughter, trying to diffuse the awkwardness. "Just joking. Don't be so tense." He shifted topics. "I'm here for the iron mines on the border. You know, our clan needs more weapons to fend off the vampires harassing from the south. We're willing to trade that vein for triple the grain. Blackthorn never trades its territory. Damien finally looked up, his amber eyes leaving no room for negotiation. Don't be so rigid. Lucas leaned back casually. I heard Countess Helena was attacked recently. This forest is getting more unstable. A strong ally is worth more than cold iron ore, isn't it? It was a blatant threat, implying the attack on Helena might be linked to them. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. Just then, I noticed a detail. While speaking, Lucas's deputy, a silent werewolf, absently rubbed the rim of his goblet. His knuckles were slightly swollen, with faint dark red residue in his nail beds, like dried blood. But more importantly, I caught a faint scent. Faron fern juice, Fey. This fern was harmless alone, but mixed with wolfsbane flower. It created a toxin that temporarily paralyzed werewolf muscles. One of the bandits attacking Helena that day had been wounded by my herb knife. My heart raced. A bold guess formed in my mind. The banquet ended in a tense, hypocritical atmosphere. After Lucas and his party left, Damien immediately convened a meeting with core members. Lucas is testing our limits, his deputy, a steady werewolf named Kane, said. He wants to know if the Countess's attack exposed vulnerabilities in our defenses. Damien snorted coldly. He wants more than iron ore. He aims to annex the entire Blackthorn territory. We must prepare for battle, Kane said gravely. Perhaps we don't need to fight. A clear, cold voice rang out. All eyes turned to me. I stepped out from the shadows, bearing immense pressure. Damien narrowed his eyes dangerously. What insight do you have, my blood debt holder? The attackers on the Countess weren't ordinary bandits. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. They were from the Silver Moon clan, at least one was. Kane immediately refuted. Impossible. The Silver Moon clan is greedy but wouldn't dare openly attack the Alpha's mother. That would spark war. They wouldn't use their own identities. I looked at Damien. I wounded one bandit. Today, on Lucas's deputy's hand, I smelled the special herb used to treat that wound. Iron fern. It is fine alone, but if the wound had wolfsbane residue, it must be used to neutralize it. And wolfsbane was the poison on those bandits' blades. The room fell into dead silence. Everyone stared at me in shock. These powerful warriors could detect blood miles away, but not this subtle herb mixture. This is Lucas's conspiracy, I continued. He sent men disguised as bandits, laced with our Northern Territory's unique wolfsbane, to attack the Countess. If successful, he'd claim Blackthorn couldn't even protect its leader's mother. Shaking your rule if not. Like now, he'd probe our weaknesses under the guise of concern, and use it as leverage in negotiations he counted on us having no evidence. Damien listened silently, a storm brewing in his amber eyes. He approached me step by step, each one pounding like my heart. He stopped before me, his tall figure completely enveloping me. I could smell his masculine scent, mixed with leather, forest, and danger. So, you've not only got a nose. He reached out, his fingertip lightly brushing my cheek, the cold touch sending shivers through me. But a brain, too. This wasn't praise. It was confirmation, confirming if a tool was useful, but I didn't flinch, meeting his gaze. Yes, my lord, and my brain tells me Lucas will send someone to infiltrate the castle tonight, trying to destroy the only evidence left. Damien's lips curved into a bloodthirsty smile. Good, his low voice whispered in my ear, carrying a hint of scorching breath. Then we'll prepare a fiery welcome for him. In that moment, watching the cruelty and excitement flicker in his eyes, I suddenly realized I'd not only entered the wolf pack but been personally marked as bait by the Alpha. And I had no choice but to dance with the wolves. Blackthorn Castle's kitchen was akin to a small village marketplace. Steam, thick smoke, and the mingled scents of various foods filled the air, with dozens of servants bustling like ants, chopping meat, clanging pots and pans, and the head chef's roars echoing non-stop. Peel those potatoes clean. Hurry up, you lazy bones tonight. The Lord is hosting envoys from the Grey Wolf clan. If anyone messes up, I'll throw them to feed whatever's in the dungeon. The head chef, a man as fat as a barrel, waved a massive ladle, spittle flying. My assigned task was washing piles of vegetables. The icy water stung my hands, and my nimble fingers, once used for identifying herbs, now dealt only with dirt and roots. The surrounding servants eyed me with curious yet distant gazes. They knew I wasn't a true servant, but the Lord's orders kept them silent, whispering only in private. Heard about her? The one who saved the old lady? A human? The Lord actually let her in the kitchen. I thought she'd be treated like a guest. Guest more like a prisoner. Didn't you see how the Lord looks at her? Like he wants to eat her. I pretended not to hear, focusing on my work. My pride wouldn't allow weakness. Damien wanted to humiliate me this way, to make me submit. I refused to let him succeed. I wasn't just a fragile girl who cried. I was raised by my grandmother to find life in adversity. For days, I toiled in the kitchen with the dirtiest, most exhausting jobs. From dawn to midnight, my body ached with fatigue, but my spirit grew tougher. I quietly observed the castle's operations, learning werewolf hierarchies and rules. Everything here followed the most primal law of power. The strong claimed all, the weak attached. One evening, dragging a basin of kitchen waste to the back door, I collided with someone around a corner. The leftover soup splashed all over them, their expensive silk robe now dripping with greasy broth. I looked up in panic, meeting Damien's amber eyes burning with rage. "Is this how you serve the Blackthorn family?" His icy voice could freeze the air. "I'm sorry, my lord. I didn't see you." I bowed my head immediately, keeping my voice steady. The noble werewolves behind him let out stifled snickers. One blonde youth eyed me flirtatiously, saying in an exaggerated tone, "Oh, Damien, is this the treasure you picked up from the forest? Looks like she is more suited for the kitchen than your bedroom." The words were deeply insulting, making my cheeks burn. Damien's expression turned dangerous. Without turning, he coldly spat. "Get out." The blonde youth's smile froze. He seemed about to speak, but, under Damien's oppressive gaze, slunk away with the others. Now the corridor held only us. "Look up," he commanded. I slowly raised my head, meeting his eyes fearlessly. His gaze swept over my stained apron and weary face, his lips curling into a cruel arc. "How does it feel, village girl? This is the dignity you wanted." Wallowing in the kitchen with garbage, a joke to my kin. "It is just work, my lord," I replied calmly. "Earning food and shelter through labor isn't shameful. What is shameful are those who do nothing but mock others." My answer seemed to surprise him. He stepped closer, his overwhelming presence hitting me. I could smell his mix of forest, leather, and dangerous wildness. He towered over me. I had to look up to see his face. "Quite the sharp tongue," he chuckled lowly, grasping my chin. His fingertips were scorching hot, his grip unyielding. "You think this proves something? That you're different? Don't be naive. Human in my eyes. You're no different from others trying to climb the ranks, just with cleverer methods." His words were like a poisoned dagger piercing my heart's softest spot. I'd saved his mother out of pure kindness, but in his view, it was all calculated scheming. A wave of grievance and anger surged. My eyes reddened, but I held back the tears. "When I saved the lady, I didn't know her identity." My voice trembled with anger. "If I'd known she was werewolf nobility, I might have run in fear. Is my kindness so worthless in your eyes?" Seeing the tears in my eyes, Damien seemed moved for a moment, but he quickly regained his icy demeanor, releasing me. "Your kindness is worthless in this castle here. Only strength matters." He stepped back, disdainfully wiping his soiled robe with a handkerchief, then tossing it to the ground. "Want respect, trade it with your value. Otherwise, stay in the kitchen forever until you learn real reality." With that, he strode away, his tall back vanishing down the corridor, leaving me alone with the mess and his discarded expensive handkerchief. I slowly crouched, picking up the handkerchief, clutching it tightly. The soft fabric seemed to retain his fingertips' warmth and that piercing contempt. No, I wouldn't be defeated. Damien Blackthorne, I'll prove to you my value is more than luck and schemes. I'll make you see that a human girl's resilience can earn her place in your world. Back in the kitchen, silence greeted me. Margaret the cook and the other helpers had stopped work, looking at me with a mix of sympathy, curiosity, and schadenfreude. Clearly, they'd heard everything in the corridor. Emma. Margaret hesitated, her wrinkled face full of worry. Are you okay? I forced a smile uglier than crying, shaking my head. I was fine. How could I be? My dignity trampled, my sincere heart deemed base. How could I be fine? But I couldn't say that. Here, weakness was sin. Damien had taught me that with his actions. I'm fine, Aunt Margaret. I tucked the handkerchief carefully into my apron pocket, as if it were a medal, not cloth. The Lord is just in a bad mood. Let's get back to work. The banquet prep can't be delayed. My calm surprised everyone. They exchanged glances, whispers buzzing like mosquitoes. I ignored them, heading straight to the unfinished potatoes, picking up the peeler. The blade scraped the skin with a shushing sound over and over. Mechanical and repetitive. My hand was steady, unnaturally so. Only I knew how much effort it took to restrain the urge to stab the knife into the cutting board. Damien Blackthorne. I silently repeated the name in my mind, grinding each syllable with my teeth. Just you. Wait. The banquet prep was heavy and trivial. I was assigned the most tiring, dirtiest jobs. Washing mountains of dishes, handling stinking animal entrails, and hauling buckets of waste to the disposal area behind the castle. The smell there could make one faint. Flocks of crows circled the piles, cawing harshly, carrying heavy wooden buckets. I trudged along the muddy path, sour soup splashing my skirt hem, leaving dark stains. Sweat soaked my back, my arms ached too much to lift. Each time I felt like giving up. The soft handkerchief in my pocket reminded me of Damien's contemptuous gaze and biting words. Want respect? Trade it with your value. Fine, I'll trade it to you, as the banquet began. The kitchen was chaotic like a battlefield. Exquisite dishes were plated on trays, carried by uniformed servers to the glittering hall. I stayed in the steamy, oily back kitchen without even a glimpse. Margaret, seeing my pale face and chapped lips, secretly slipped me a piece of charred bread. Eat something quick, child. You haven't had anything since noon. I took the bread, devouring it. The aroma soothed my protesting stomach, easing my taut nerves slightly. Just then, a young server rushed in, panicked. Aunt Margaret, trouble, the old lady. She seems poisoned. The kitchen erupted. Poisoned. Margaret's face changed, her ladle clattering to the floor. How? All dishes were tested with silver needles. I don't know. The old lady took one sip of soup and collapsed, lips turning purple. The server was near tears. The Lord is going mad. The castle physician is rushing over. But it might be too late. My mind exploded. The old lady, Helena. The one who'd shown me kindness despite her scheming depths. My first instinct wasn't fear, but to rush out. Move. I shoved aside blockers, racing to the banquet hall. Behind me, Margaret called in panic. Emma, you're crazy. Come back. I heard nothing. My mind had one thought, save her, bursting into the hall. Chaos reigned. Nobles clustered in panic, pointing. Helena lay on the carpet by the head seat. Face ashen, breathing faint. Damien knelt half beside her, his usually cold face cracked for the first time. A mix of rage, fear, and despair. His golden eyes were bloodshot, like a beast on the verge of losing control. Where is the physician? Why isn't he here? He roared, his voice carrying worlds and destroying fury. The guards around him were silent, faces pale. My lord. I broke through the guards' blockade, reaching them. Damien snapped his head up, seeing me, killing intent ignited in his bloodshot eyes. Get out. "I can save her," I shouted, using all my strength. Time seemed to freeze. All eyes on me, astonishment, doubt, but mostly disbelief. Damien stared deathly at me, his gaze like sharp knives ready to flay me. "What did you say?" "I said I can save her." I met his murderous eyes, enunciating, "I'm a village herbalist's apprentice. I recognize this poison." I pointed to the barely touched soup bowl before Helena. It was a thick mushroom soup, with one unassuming gray mushroom I recognized instantly. "That is false death mushroom," I said quickly. "Harmless alone, but cooked with purple stem grass, it becomes deadly. Victims quickly suffocate and paralyze. Like now, silver needles miss it, but without immediate antidote, death in half an hour." My words made everyone gasp. A richly dressed noble pointed at me, shrieking, "Nonsense! A kitchen drudge knows what. Drag her out." "Shut up." Damien stood abruptly, his terrifying aura silencing all. He approached me step by step, his massive shadow engulfing me. "Are you sure?" He looked down, voice raspy like sandpaper. "I'm sure." I didn't flinch, meeting his gaze. "My grandmother was a renowned herbalist. I learned from her to identify herbs and poisons. I know how to make the antidote." He stared silently for seconds, storms raging in his golden eyes. I knew he was weighing, trust me, and Helena might live. Distrust, and she dies. A gamble. With his mother's life on a human girl he despised. Finally, as if deciding something profound, he grabbed my wrist, grip crushing my bones. "Take her to the apothecary." He ordered the guards. "Give her whatever she needs, if she plays tricks." He didn't finish, but his threatening look was clear. If she died, I'd die worse. 2 guards escorted me, nearly flying to the castle's apothecary. Its collection dwarfed our village herbalists. Rare ingredients were categorized in drawers, the air thick with complex herbal scents. No time for awe, I rattled off ingredient names. 3 danleaf snakeberry, dried. Gold thread flower, as much as possible. White thatch root, the thickest stems. Hurry, the guards, skeptical but under orders, scrambled to search. I paced anxiously, mind racing. False death mushroom's poison was fierce. Standard antidotes failed. It needed counterbalancing principles. Found it. A guard handed me a large pack of dried 3 danleaf snakeberry. I sniffed a handful. Yes, that is it. Pound it, fastest speed. I gave them the herbs, rushing to another cabinet for the final key. "Where is the mugwort?" I asked urgently. "Mugwort? Isn't that for repelling insects?" a guard asked confusedly. "No questions. Find it." Time ticked away. Every delay heightened Helena's danger. Finally, in an obscure corner, I found dried mugwort bundles. I mixed the pounded herbs, wrapped them in clean cloth, lit mugwort, and smoked the bundle. A strange, bitter, sweet aroma filled the air. "Done. Quick. Soak in strong liquor, then force the juice down the old lady's throat." I tossed the hot bundle to the guards, my palms red from burns. As the guards rushed back with the medicated liquor, the castle physician arrived, a goated old man. Seeing this crude method, his beard bristled in anger. "Absurd. Nonsense. How can you trust a country girl's folk remedy?" "Step aside. Let me." Damien stood aside, face dark as water, not speaking, just staring at me with golden eyes. That look said if this was a lie, he'd tear me apart himself. Everyone held their breath. The guards pried open Helena's mouth, pouring the black, pungent juice bit by bit. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Helena showed no reaction, her face even more ashen. The physician snorted. "See," I told. Before he finished, Helena coughed violently, then vomited a large mouthful of black, foul blood. It splattered the precious carpet, reeking, but no one cared. All eyes fixed on Helena. Her color visibly improved, breathing steadying. She slowly opened her eyes, gaze hazy but alert. "What happened?" she asked weakly. The hall was silent, then erupted in cheers. "She is alive. The old lady's alive." My legs buckled. I nearly collapsed. Success. I'd pulled her from death's door. In the chaos, a burning gaze fell on me. I looked up, meeting Damien's eyes. Those golden eyes, once full of contempt and killing intent, now surged with unreadable complexity, shock, disbelief, and a hint of something else. He pushed through the crowd, approaching me. His steps were slow, each thumping my heart. The noise faded, my world narrowed to his nearing figure. I clenched my fists instinctively. The handkerchief in my pocket, damp with sweat, stuck to my palm. He stopped before me, his tall form enveloping me again. He said nothing, just looked deeply at me for a long, long time. Then, under the astonished gazes of nobles and servants, he slowly, solemnly bowed to me. Not a perfunctory noble nod, nor a condescending lord's gesture, but an equal bow, even with a touch of respect. "Thank you." His voice low and raspy, no longer cold and harsh, just a post-Dan crisis weariness and sincerity. "You saved my mother for the second time." Looking at his bowed head, his smooth black hair, my nose stung, tears fell unbidden. Not from grievance or fear, but because I'd won his respect with my value. Just as I thought the storm would subside, a cold voice came from the crowd. "My lord, I think now isn't the time for thanks." It was a gaunt, Jan-faced Jan-aged noble, eyeing me appraisingly. "We must first clarify why a kitchen drudge so conveniently knew the antidote," he emphasized, conveniently. One stone stirred 1,000 waves. The crowd's grateful and awed looks turned. Doubt, scrutiny, probing, like needles pricking me. Yes, why? Why? When the castle physician was helpless, did I? A recent arrival. Kitchen Zan-bound human girl, precisely identify the poison and provide the antidote. Too convenient. Like a self-Dan-directed play, the middle Dan-aged noble continued. "Who brewed this soup? Who added the purple stem grass? Why did this human girl speak up not sooner, not later, but exactly when the old lady was dying to turn the tide? Doesn't this deserve suspicion?" His words were a poisoned dagger, aimed at dismantling everything I'd built. I went cold. Looking at the shifting faces, I understood. In this castle of conspiracies and betrayals, kindness and ability weren't shields but fatal evidence. Damien straightened, slowly turning to the noble, his face regaining a beastly danger. "You mean she is acting?" "I dare not conclude, my lord." The noble bowed slightly, but his tone was aggressive. "Just for the old lady's safety, for Blackthorn's reputation, we must investigate. If the poisoner is someone else, we'll not spare them. But if someone's crying thief to catch thief, seeking merit or plotting," his gaze fell on me like a venomous snake. "We cannot condone." All eyes focused on me again. No awe left, only cold judgment. I clenched my fists, nails digging into palms. I'd saved someone, yet faced trial as the culprit. What could be more absurd? My gaze turned to Damien. Would he believe me? This man who just thanked me, acknowledged my value, faced with his family's doubt. Whose side would he take? I saw the warmth just kindled in his golden eyes, cooling, resealed in ice. He looked at me, expression complex and inscrutable, then slowly spoke. "Lock her in the dungeon." The dungeon door slammed shut behind me with a clang, the heavy metal crash like a giant hammer shattering my last shred of hope. Cold, damp air enveloped me instantly, carrying a rotten mold and faint blood scent, invading my nostrils, piercing my lungs. I was roughly shoved into a cell, stumbling, nearly falling on the damp straw floor. I steadied myself, slowly turning. Beyond the iron bars, 2 expressionless werewolf guards stood like mountains, blocking the only exit. Their looks at me were like eyeing rotting meat. I ignored them, gaze piercing the gap toward the corridor's dark end. Damien's silhouette stood there, dim light obscuring his face. only a cold outline stretched by firelight. He hadn't left. He was watching me. My heart felt gripped by an invisible hand, aching unbearably. The dungeon. He'd really locked me in the dungeon. Minutes ago, he'd thanked me for saving his mother. His golden eyes even flickered with a warmth I'd never seen. But now, because of that noble's words, those reasonable doubts, he'd unhesitatingly cast me into the abyss. What did he see me as? A disposable pawn, a sacrifice to quell family discord? I gripped my fists tightly, the cold stone wall against my back, chill seeping through my thin clothes, cooling to my core. But colder than the wall was Damien's decision. I'd saved someone, yet treated as the killer. What could be more absurd, more chilling? I stared at that dark outline, seeking even a trace of wavering or reluctance. None. Nothing. He just stood quietly, like an emotionless statue, coldly appraising his prisoner. Suddenly, I found it laughable. I laughed at my naivety, for fantasizing he'd be different because of "you saved my mother." That he'd see through conspiracies, stand by me. How ridiculous. He was Blackthorn's lord, the land's strongest alpha. His world was balances and family interests. A mysterious, suspicious human girl like me, no matter the merit, couldn't outweigh the family's stability. Trust. What is that? Edible. In these nobles' eyes, I was just a expendable cost. That middle-aged noble, I recalled him as Lord Locke. His goal wasn't truth but to exploit the situation, undermine Damien's authority, and I was his perfect weapon against Damien. Locking me up might not mean disbelief, but he had to. It was a posture, a response to family doubts. He needed time. A fair investigation to silence everyone. Realizing this, my anger and grievance settled, turning to icy clarity. I couldn't rely on anyone, especially not Damien. All I had was myself. I withdrew my gaze, no longer looking at him, slowly sliding down the wall to sit. The straw pricked, the ground cold, but I didn't care. Now wasn't for self-jan pity. I had to calm. Think strategy, Lord Locke's accusations, though vicious, weren't airtight. All his reasoning hinged on coincidence. Why did I conveniently know the antidote? Why speak up exactly at the crisis? This was practically admitting guilt. Either Lord Locke was a fool, or he was certain of a perfect scapegoat. Like me, I'd saved her, but became the sole suspect. The real poisoner could pose as a loyal, family-concerned minister before Damien. A brilliant double strike. I needed evidence. Prove the poisoner wasn't me, but someone else. But how? Locked here. Heaven and earth ignored my calls. Wait. My thoughts paused. A crazy idea bubbled from my mind's depths. Lord Locke accused me of poisoning Damien to quell anger. Locked me in the dungeon. It all seemed logical, to stabilize internal dissenters. But what if Damien's purpose wasn't to appease them? What if locking me up was to protect me? Outside, I was the target. Locke's incited bullseye. Anyone defending me could be seen as accomplice. In this dungeon, though cold and damp, it was safe. This was the castle's most guarded spot without Damien's order. No one entered. Whether Locke wanted to silence me or force confession, he was powerless. So Damien locked me here not for trial, but to create an absolutely safe space for me to think calmly and find a breakthrough. This idea made me tremble. I snapped my head up, gazing again at the corridor's end. It was empty, he'd left, but I felt his lingering gaze, cold yet like an invisible net, isolating me from all external malice. I slowly unclenched my fists. No, Emma, don't be foolish again. This might just be my wishful thinking, an excuse to feel better. Damien was the alpha, werewolf lord. How could I guess his mind? Maybe he really saw me as a discard, temporarily held until the storm passed. Can't pin hopes on others. I closed my eyes, forcing calm. My only advantage now was my medical knowledge. I'd saved Helena with not some conjured antidote, but my grandmother's herbal lore. I knew that poison. It was silent embrace. A rare plant toxin. Early symptoms mimicked common heart disease, hard to detect. Over time, it eroded nerves, leading the victim to death in calm, showing no pain. Lord Locke pegged me as culprit because I could antidote it, but he overlooked something. The antidote required specific herbs and ratio. The key one, moonlight vine, grew only on dark, damp cliffs, very rare. In urgency, I'd used all my carried stock, meaning if the castle had more moonlight vine, fresh or dried, it couldn't be mine. Proving another portion in the castle meant someone else knew the poison, that someone was likely the true culprit. This ignited hope in me. But the problem returned. How to convey this? I couldn't shout to the guards, "Hey, search Lord Locke's room for moonlight vine." They'd think me mad. I needed someone to see me, believe me, and relay to Damien. Who? Margaret, the servant's head. She sympathized. But would she defy Lord Locke for a human girl? Helena? She owed me her life, but she was still unconscious. Names flashed, each rejected. As I despaired, the dungeon door opened again. The heavy iron grated harshly, light streamed in. I squinted, seeing a young girl in servant garb carrying a tray, cautiously entering. It was Lily, the maid who'd taken me to Helena before. She placed the tray down, a bland oatmeal porridge and water cup. "Miss Emma, this is what the Lord ordered delivered." Her voice was tiny, timid, eyes averted. "Damien, he remembered to send me food. My feelings mixed." "Thank you, Lily," I rasped. She jumped at my voice, shrinking, then quickly pulled a small item from her pocket, stuffing it into my straw pile. It was a cloth, Dan-wrapped bundle, warm, with bread aroma. "Eat it quick, it is still hot." Done with her big task, she turned to flee. "Wait," I called. She stopped, body rigid, not turning. "Who sent this?" I asked. She paused, voice mosquito Dan-like. "It is the lady awake. She heard you were locked, so had me sneak you food." Helena awake, this news cleaved my fog like lightning. "My savior, Lily." I lowered my voice, sincere and urgent. "Can you help me? It is vital for my innocence and Blackthorn family." Lily's shoulders shook. I dare not. "Hear me out," I spoke fast. "Take a message to the Lord, not Helena, to Lord Damien. Tell him to check for moonlight vine. The true culprit must have this herb." Moonlight vine. Lily's voice puzzled. "Yes, a vine plant. Leaves glow at night. You don't need to understand. Just tell the Lord." I stared at her back. "Lily, I saved the lady's life. I'm not bad. Someone's framing me. Only you can help." Lily's body struggled intensely. One side, powerful Lord Locke, the other, me, a mysterious, imprisoned human girl. How could a little maid choose? I held my breath, awaiting her verdict. Time passed in suffocating silence. I heard my drumming heartbeat. Finally, she nodded faintly. "I'll try." She fled, the heavy door shut, plunging me back into dark. I exhaled long, collapsing against the wall in exhaustion. I'd pinned hope on a stranger maid now. All I could do was wait for Damien's decision. Wait for fate's judgment. I didn't know how long. Maybe an hour. Maybe half a day. The dungeon door opened a third time. Not the food maid, but two fully armed guards. "Emma Ashford, the Lord wants to see you," their tone businesslike. Emotionless, my heart leaped to my throat. It was here, blessing or curse decided now. They flanked me, leading from the dungeon. The long, Dan-absent light stung my eyes. Entering the spacious council hall again, the atmosphere was heavier. Damien sat at the head, face grim as dripping water. His fingers tapped the armrest dully. Lord Locke stood center, face ashen, eyes with faint panic. Helena reclined on an ornate chaise, pale but spirited. Seeing me, she gave a reassuring look. My heart steadied slightly. "Emma?" Damien spoke, Golden eyes eagled and sharp, piercing me. Anything to say? He didn't condemn directly, giving me a chance to defend. My guess might be right, I straightened, meeting his gaze, word by word. My lord, I didn't poison. The antidote for the lady needs moonlight vine. I used all mine. If the castle has more, it proves another poisoner. My words fell. Lord Locke jumped out. Utter nonsense. Who knows if you're fabricating to escape? Moonlight vine, I've lived years, never heard. He turned to Damien. Ernest, my lord, don't be fooled by this cunning human, she is stalling. Oh, is that so? A lazy, aged voice rose. Helena. She sat up slowly, gaze coldly sweeping Locke, her superior authority making him shrink. Locke, not hearing doesn't mean non-existent. Helena said flatly, in my youth. I saw this herb, its leaves glow faintly and dark, beautiful as moonlight, deadly as it. She paused, turning to Damien. Damien, I believe Emma. She saved my life. I stake mine she is innocent. The hall dead silent, Lord Locke's face went white. He hadn't expected Helena's quick wake or her staunch support. Damien's face unchanged. He looked at me, emotions surging unreadably in golden pupils. Mother's vouch is weighty, he finally spoke, voice low. But Blackthorn has rules. Words aren't proof. I need evidence. He turned to the guard captain. Search every room in the castle thoroughly, especially Lord Locke's, yes. The captain left. Lord Locke's body swayed, sweat beading his forehead. My lord, you can't. This insults me. I'm Blackthorn's loyal, shut up. Damien's voice soft but unyielding. Lord Locke silenced, but his venomous eyes glared at me, as if to devour me. Time passed in choking silence. Every minute, second, like frying in oil. Finally, the captain returned. In his hands, a precious silk Dan-wrapped item. He unwrapped its center hall. Several carefully preserved plants exposed. In the dim hall light, their leaf edges emitted a faint moonlight glow. Moonlight vine, truth revealed. Lord Locke's legs buckled. He collapsed. No, not me. This isn't mine, he babbled, but no one listened. Damien rose, slowly approaching me. His tall figure enveloped me again. I could smell his unique mix of snowstorm and forest. I looked up, meeting his deep golden eyes. In those eyes I saw shock, scrutiny, and an unreadable complex emotion. You, he spoke, voice husky. How did you know this? I met his gaze, unflinching. Because I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor, those 5 words rippled like a stone in a calm lake through the silent hall. Damien's golden pupils contracted sharply. He advanced, his tall frame's pressure nearly suffocating. Those eyes locked on me, as if stripping my soul for inch Dan by Dan inch inspection. A doctor? His voice trembled faintly, like a taut string plucked. A village doctor's knowledge includes this? I didn't answer, just calmly returned his gaze. This question, I couldn't. My knowledge came from another world, one he couldn't comprehend or reach. There, herbology, toxicology were basics. Moonlight vine's properties were in ancient texts. My silence, in Damien's eyes, meant something else. His scrutiny sharpened, complex emotions surging more. You're not just a doctor, he asserted. Tone certain, he stared into my eyes, as if confirming, then slowly, deliberately asked, You know Isabella. Isabella, the name lightning Dan struck my sealed memories. Of course I knew. That was my mother's name. My heartbeat nearly stopped, blood freezing. I controlled my face, not letting shock show. How did he know my mother's name? Mother was an ordinary human villager dying of illness when I was young. Her life plain as roadside grass, never leaving the village. Damien High Werewolf Lord, Blackthorn Castle's master. Their lives should be parallel lines, never intersecting. I don't, I heard my calm voice. I don't know what you mean, my lord. My denial seemed expected. He didn't press, but something shattered in his golden eyes. a mix of disappointment, pain, and relief. My presumption. His voice regained low authority, as if the momentary lapse wasn't him. He turned, gaze sweeping collapsed Lord Locke, eyes cold as winter glacier. "Drag him away," he commanded. "Dispose per Blackthorn rules." "No, my lord, mercy, mercy," Locke wailed, struggling futilely as two burly guards dragged him like a dead dog. His venomous gaze nailed me, silent curse more toxic than words. The hall quieted. Damien's gaze fell on me again, complex emotions perfectly hidden, leaving only lordly authority and distance. "Emma," he said my name flatly. Though cleared, sneaking into the apothecary, stealing rare herbs is still grave crime. My heart tightened. Yes, I'd forgotten. In saving, I'd slipped into the apothecary. Per rules, whipping then exile. His words fell. Helena interjected. "Damien, she saved me. Rules are rules, mother." Damien's voice unwavering. "Blackthorn stands on iron law, not favors." He looked at me, golden pupils indifferent. "However," he turned, "for saving mother and exposing Locke's plot, merits offset, death spared, but punishment remains." He paused, seeming to ponder my fate. I held breath, awaiting judgment. "From today, you're the castle's exclusive apothecary," he announced. "Handle mother's daily care and all my injuries. Without my permission, no stepping out of Blackthorn Castle." The verdict surprised all. I was stunned. Apothecary. Punishment. It sounded. More reward. Disguised protection. Confining me in the castle, named penalty, actually under his wing. Why? Because of Isabella? I looked up, meeting his gaze, seeking clues in that deep golden sea. But nothing, only cold, lordly indifference. "What?" He arched a brow. "Unwilling?" "No, I am," I bowed, hiding doubts. "As you command, my lord." Life as castle-exclusive apothecary was calmer than imagined. Damien gave me a private apothecary room, stacked with rare herbs, many from ancient books only. He granted free access to the castle library. That library was a knowledge ocean. Not just human books, but werewolf tomes, herbology isolates, ancient runes. I absorbed like a dry sponge, except leaving the castle. My life was nearly free. Damien seemed busy. I rarely saw him. Mostly, I cared for Helena. Under my care, she improved daily, growing kinder, often summoning me to her solar for chats, sharing Blackthorn legends. She never mentioned Isabella. I tacitly didn't ask. Between Damien and me, an invisible wall. He gave status and respect, but absolute distance. His looks carried unreadable alienation and wariness, as if I were fragile treasure, or a blade that could wound him any time. Until a month later, that blood moon night, that evening, castle tension was abnormal. Guards doubled, air restless. Leaving the library for my room, Margaret stopped me. "Miss Emma," the stern servant head showed rare panic. "The lord's injured. He summons you." My heart sank. "Where?" "Severe. In his chambers," Margaret's voice shook. "Go quick. Don't keep him waiting." Damien's chambers atop the castle, heavily guarded. I passed unimpeded, guards bowed, clearing way, pushing the heavy oak door, thick blood scent assaulted. Damien sat half-dan naked by the window, back to me. Outside, a massive blood moon hung eerie red light through windows on his defined back. His back had 3 bones and deep claw marks, from left shoulder to right waist. Wound edges flipped, ominous black dan purple, clearly poisoned. Blood still oozed, staining the carpet below. He sensed me but didn't turn. "Close the door." His voice raspy, weak, suppressed pain. I obeyed, approaching with my kit. "My lord, you—" "No chatter," he cut off, voice impatient. "Heal me," I said no more, inspecting the wound. My fingers touched the wound edge. A scorching, violent force surged through my fingertips into me. a wild, primal, destructive power. I grunted, brain dizzying, body staggering back uncontrolled. "Stay back," Damien growled low, warning full. I steadied, looking at his trembling back. Under blood moon, his clenched fists veined, seeming to endure immense pain, wolf poison, and an extremely domineering kind. This toxin eroded his body and assaulted his sanity, trying to fully beast him. "What wound?" I asked gravely. "Challenger's claws." He gritted. "Challenger." Helena had mentioned werewolf rule maintenance was simple, brutal. Any strong enough could challenge the leader, winner king, loser, light injury or death. Clearly, Damien had a bloody challenge won, but at heavy cost. "The toxin's tricky," I analyzed calmly. "It is destroying your will. I need to debride and detox immediately. But treatment may intensify pain, stimulate your violent force. You might lose control." "I won't," he asserted firmly. "My lord." "It is not willpower," I said seriously. "On blood moon, werewolf power peaks. Beast nature amplified infinitely. This toxin's catalyst. I can't guarantee clarity during treatment," I said. He turned slowly. Golden pupils under blood moon turned terrifying scarlet. "I won't lose control." His eyes held unyielding paranoia and madness. Looking at him, I understood his insistence. He was Blackthorn's lord, Pack Alpha. He couldn't show weakness or loss before anyone, especially me, a human. That was his pride, his shackles. "Fine." I stopped Chuen, endure. I took silver scalpel and tweezers from Kit, disinfecting with liquor. "It'll hurt," I warned. He didn't reply. Face back to window blood moon, jaw clenched. I hesitated no more, clamping a deepest embedded bone shard with tweezers, yanking out. Damien uttered, suppressed grunt. Body jerking, chair groaning. His back muscles knotted like rocks. A more violent aura erupted. Room temperature dropped. I didn't stop, clearing poison and dead flesh. Each cut, pull felt his body's force raging, like caged beast tearing bars. Sweat soaked my forehead, sliding down cheeks. I fought not just wound poison, but his overwhelming pressure, nearly driving madness. This wasn't mere treatment, it was willpower duel. Time passed. His breathing grew heavier, like dying beast. Under scarlet light, faint black patterns surfaced on his skin. Beastification, omen. My heart throat ran high. As I cleared last necrotic tissue, prepping ointment, his suppressed force finally erupted fully. Roar, a non-human roar of pain and rage burst from his throat. He surged up, air blast flipping me down. Kit bottles shattered. I looked up, terrified. His body underwent horrific change, nails sharp black, canines protruding lips, scarlet eyes last sanity swallowed by beastliness. He'd lost control. He turned slowly, looming over fallen me. Eyes no longer Damien Blackthorn's lordly, but a beast with only kill instinct, danger. My brain screamed, body frozen in terror. He approached step by step, each stomping my heart. Thick blood scent and aggressive male aura wrapped me tight. Done, I closed eyes awaiting death, but expected agony didn't come. Dizzy whirl. He roughly scooped me waist down high, hurling me onto the wide, soft bed. I opened eyes, terrified, meeting his fully beast occupied scarlet pupils. He leaned down, tall body fully covering. I felt his scalding breath on my face, smelled his blood wild danger mix. His hands irons clamped my wrists, pinning me. "Isabella," he rasped low, squeezing that soul shaking name from throat. Then, he lowered, scalding rough kiss crashing down. Not a kiss, a plunder, full of rage, pain, desperate possession. His teeth nicked my lip, blood taste mingling, my mind blank. Why, that name again? Who was the Isabella in his mouth, me or mother? My resistance pale against his absolute strength. His kiss, unyielding dominance, trailed down to my vulnerable neck. Icy fear gripped my heart. I knew what he wanted. Werewolf marking mate, bite neck, inject scent, permanent, indelible brand. No! I couldn't let him mark. Damien! I screamed his name with all strength. Look at me, see clear. I'm not Isabella, I'm Emma. My scream seemed to halt his frenzy momentarily. He lifted head, scarlet pupils flashing struggle. Emma. He murmured my name, voice full of confusion and pain. Seizing the gap, I kneed his abdomen hard. He grunted in pain, grip loosening fraction. I seized, desperately wriggling from under, rolling, crawling off bed, distancing. Get out! He clutched abdomen, kneeling, roaring in agony. Black patterns clarified, body shaking violently, as if deadlocked with something. Seeing his pain, pity flashed. I knew he used last sanity against all Zen devouring beastliness. Telling me to leave was protecting me. I bit lip, didn't flee. I'm a doctor. My duty. Save lives, not abandon in need. Deep breath. I picked unscathed potions from ground, stepping to him. My lord, look at me. I forced eye contact with his terrifying scarlet eyes. Trust me, I can help. He looked up. Bloodshot eyes full of violence and doubt. I'm your apothecary, I interrupted. Voice firm, powerful. Your life now mine, I say live. You can't die, I say clear. You can't be devoured by beast. My words thundered in his chaotic mind. The madness in his eyes faded slightly. I hesitated no more, forcing a sedative mixed detox herb juice into his mouth. The potion spicy, bitter. He instinctively resisted, but I pinned hard. Swallow, I commanded. Perhaps my dominance worked, or potion affected. His struggle weakened. He looked at me. Scarlet pupils, Damien gold, reconverging bit by bit. Beastliness faded, replaced by deep pain, and shame, potion fully effective. He quieted, collapsing like post-den battle lion, exhausted. I exhaled relief. Slumping beside. Back sweat, Zan soaked. Room wrecked. Air blood, Zan herb weird mix. Outside blood moons still hung, but eerie red less fearsome. We sat silent, neither speaking. Long after, he found voice. Early, eh? His voice hoarse extreme, post-Jan trauma weak. Thanks. I'm a doctor. It is duty, I replied calm. Effort to sound rippled Zan free. He said no more, turning head, using restored golden eyes looking deep at me. That look, more complex than ever. Gratitude, guilt, scrutiny, and unnameable deep sorrow. You resemble her, he suddenly spoke. Voice light as sigh. Very much. My heart twisted by. Her again. Who? I asked, knowingly. He paused, seeming to choose words. Old acquaintance. He chose vague finally. He rose slowly from ground, to window, back to me. Tall straight back under moonlight, somewhat desolate. Go rest, he said. Tonight's events, tell no one, including mother. Your wound. It is fine, he interrupted, poison cleared. Rest just superficial. I rose, silently packing kit. At door, I couldn't help pausing. My lord, I turned, looking his back. Isabella, what kind of person was she? This time, no evasion. He silent, long. So I thought no answer. She. He finally spoke, voice distant nostalgia. Like you, a doctor, brave, kind, yet stubbornly headache, inducing human doctor. My heart skipped, after that day. Damien and I fell into eerie calm, but I felt those amber eyes always watching from shadows, whether drying herbs in courtyard or sneaking ancient tomes in library, that gaze shadowed. This silent surveillance, more oppressive than vicious words. Meanwhile, Helena summoned me often. No more marriage talk, but teaching werewolf history, noble etiquette, even ancient magic plant knowledge. Like strict, kind mentor, unveiling this strange world bit by bit. Damien's mouth hard, heart soft, during afternoon tea. Helena mentioned casually, he has endured much betrayal, so habits thorns around self. Don't see his cold surface last Grey Wolf envoy insulted you. Banquet end. Damien found pretext, slashed their negotiation benefits by 30%. My heart jumped, teacup hand trembling slightly, so he hadn't ignored me. Turning point, stormy night. Terrible plague hit castle. Many werewolves, especially young children, had high fevers, breathing issues. Castle physicians helpless, using basic magic to ease pain, but not eradicate source. Seeing struggling children, I recalled grandmother's teachings. Ignoring Damien's ban, I burst into apothecary. With years' herb knowledge, I found plague symptoms like frost heart grass poisoning from extreme cold lands, antidote, companion sunflame flower. Sunflame flower grows only on Soulbreak Cliff, castle physician told gravely. Year-den round blizzards, slippery cliffs, even strongest werewolf warriors struggle climbing. I'll go, I said, unhesitating. News reached Damien fast. He stormed into apothecary, grabbing my arm, amber eyes full rage and unreadable panic. You're mad, Soulbreak Cliff. A human going is suicide. But children can't wait. I broke free, gaze firm meeting his. This my only chance prove value. I'm not lip-dan service village girl, nor opportunist climber. I'm healer. This my duty. I order you not go, he nearly roared. You've no right command me. I straightened first time before him, voice soft but clear. You're not my master, my lord. I owe Blackthorn a life. Now I'll repay my way. Stop me. Equals killing your kin yourself. My words left him speechless, angry eyes complex surging. Finally, as if drained, he stepped back wearily. Fine, fine, he gritted. I'll go with you. Soulbreak Cliff's blizzard worse than imagined. Winds knifed faces, heavy snow blinded, icy footing slippery dangerous. Follow close, Damien led. Partial wolf features out, claws deep in ice wall creating footholds for me. His broad back blocked most storm, that usually cold ruthless figure. Now my sole reliance. Mid-Zan climb, I slipped, screaming plummeting cliffward at brink. Damien whirled desperately, grabbing my hand. Massive force pulled half his body over edge. Arm muscles bulging, veins popping. Hold on, he roared, voice shattering in storm, looking his bloodshot straining eyes, him risking life save me. He'd always despised human. My heart's hardest ice melted quietly. We found sunflame flower, back castle. I immediately brewed antidote. 3 days nights, no sleep. Handing last bowl to Helena, I collapsed. Vision blacking, waking, I found myself in that once unsettling ornate room. Sunbeam through window on quilt, warm soft. You're awake, a husky voice by bed. I turned, seeing Damien, sat chair bedside. Heavy dark circles, stubble out, weary but amber eyes unprecedented gentle. Children, all better? I asked weakly. All better, he nodded, voice faint tremble. Emma, you saved them, saved whole Blackthorn clan. First time he called my name. Not village girl, not human, but Emma. I smiled, heart utterly peaceful. Then my debt repaid. He silent. Long he reached that once chin-dan grasping hand, this time infinitely gentle stroking my cheek. No. My heart sank. You owe me not one life. He gazed deep, eyes hot as melting me. You owe a heart, Emma. You stole my heart. How repay this debt? I stunned disbelieving ears. Stay. He leaned. Forehead to mine, scorching breath on lips, voice low sincere. Not blood debt, not duty. Just because I love you. Stay, be my wife. this land, and my only queen. This time, not ancient law binding you, but my love. Seeing his eyes strip all pretense. Hot, pure love. I could no longer suppress emotions. Tears slid corners, joyful tears. I reached arms, encircling his neck, whispering ear. Yes, I'll repay with my life. A low, satisfied growl, then fiercely kissed me. This kiss, no past probe or punishment, only cherished, regained, and all Zan-giving tenderness. Outside sun just right, castle shadows fully dispelled. I and my wolf king, after heavy trials, welcomed our warmest dawn. Later I learned, Helena from start saw my bones and deep resilience kindness. She knew only such me could melt Damien's long Zan frozen heart. That seeming accidental rescue, from beginning faded redemption. And I not only redeemed Blackthorn's king, but found my life's home.